Jake always thought his little brother, Liam, was his best friend. Growing up, they did everything together. From playing in the backyard to late-night talks about dreams and ambitions, Liam always looked up to Jake. It felt good, knowing he had someone who admired him that much. No matter what, he believed their bond was unbreakable. Then came Emily. She wasn't just another girl, she was the one. Smart, kind, and effortlessly beautiful, she was everything Jake had ever wanted. From the moment they met, their connection was undeniable. Nights spent laughing over inside jokes, long walks where silence felt comforting instead of awkward. It was the kind of love people wrote about. Liam and Emily got along well, which Jake appreciated. It made things easier. Whenever they hung out, Liam would crack jokes, making her laugh in a way that warmed Jake's heart. There was nothing strange about it, at least, that's what he told himself. Over time, Liam's presence became more frequent. If Jake and Emily planned a date, Liam would somehow show up. At first, it seemed harmless. Just hanging out, Liam would say with a grin. But then, the jokes started changing, little comments about how lucky Jake was, how Emily was out of his league. They were playful, but something about them didn't sit right. Emily, too, started acting differently. She didn't laugh as much with Jake anymore, and sometimes, when Liam spoke, she seemed interested. Jake brushed it off, refusing to overthink. Liam was just being himself, and Emily was just being polite. Then there were the moments Jake couldn't explain. He'd catch Liam watching Emily when he thought no one was looking. Or Emily would hesitate before answering when Jake asked if she was free. Small things easy to ignore until they weren't. One night, Jake invited Emily over for a movie, but she canceled at the last minute. Not feeling well, she said. He believed her. But hours later, when he went outside for some fresh air, he saw Liam sneaking out of the house, dressed like he had somewhere important to be. Something inside Jake tensed. He wanted to ask where Liam was going, but he didn't. He wanted to believe that his gut feeling was wrong. After all, this was Liam, his little brother, his best friend, and Emily, the girl he loved. What could possibly go wrong? Jake tried to push away the uneasy feeling, but it clung to him like a shadow. He told himself he was imagining things, that he was being paranoid. But doubt has a way of creeping in, no matter how hard you try to ignore it. Emily wasn't the same. Conversations that once felt effortless now seemed forced. She was distracted, her responses short, her laughter hollow. She avoided making eye contact for too long, and when Jake reached for her hand, sometimes she hesitated before holding his. Liam, too, had changed. He became more distant, disappearing for hours without an explanation. When Jake asked where he'd been, he'd shrug and change the subject. The once unbreakable bond between them now felt strained, like something unspoken hung in the air. One evening, Jake and Emily were at a party with friends. Everything seemed normal, until he noticed Liam and Emily standing too close, whispering. The second they saw Jake looking, they stepped apart. Jake felt something tighten in his chest, but he forced a smile, pretending not to notice. A friend pulled him aside later, hesitating before speaking. Hey, I don't want to stir anything up, but have you noticed Liam and Emily? They seem close. Jake laughed it off, even though his stomach twisted. They're just friends, he said, the words tasting bitter. That night, Emily canceled their plans again. Too tired, she texted. He told her to rest, but as he lay in bed, something didn't sit right. Minutes later, he heard the front door creak. He got up, looking out the window just in time to see Liam walking away, dressed sharp, like he was meeting someone. A nagging voice in his head told him to follow. He shook it off. It wasn't possible. It wasn't even a thought worth entertaining. Liam wouldn't do that to him. Emily wouldn't betray him like that, would they? Sleep never came that night. Jake's mind kept replaying every moment he had ignored, every red flag he had brushed aside. The way Liam looked at Emily, the way she laughed at his jokes, the whispered conversations, the sudden distance. It was all there, right in front of him, but he had refused to see it. An hour passed. Then, too. Restless, he finally gave in to the doubt eating at him. Grabbing his keys, He stepped outside, driving without a clear destination, just a sinking feeling that led him forward. Then he saw them. Through the cafe window, Liam and Emily sat across from each other.
Close.
Too close. Liam leaned in, his hand resting lightly over hers. Emily wasn't pulling away. She wasn't resisting. Instead, she was looking at him the way she used to look at Jake. Jake's body went cold. The world around him blurred. Every beat of his heart pounded in his ears, but he forced himself to stay still, to process what he was seeing. Emily's fingers brushed over Liam's, a soft, lingering touch that confirmed everything Jake didn't want to believe. Her lips moved, saying something Jake couldn't hear, but he didn't need to. It didn't matter. The truth was sitting right in front of him. He stepped inside. The second Emily saw him, her face drained of color. Liam turned, his expression frozen between guilt and shock. No one spoke. The silence stretched, heavy and unbearable. Jake's voice was calm, but his hands clenched at his sides. How long? Emily opened her mouth, but no words came out. Liam looked away, jaw tight. That was answer enough. Betrayal had a weight Jake never knew existed. It settled in his chest, pressing down, making it hard to breathe. He didn't wait for explanations. There was nothing they could say that would make this better. No excuse that would undo what they had done. Without another word, he turned and walked away. The walk home felt longer than ever. Every step dragged as if the weight of betrayal had settled into his bones. The night air was cold, but it couldn't numb the fire burning inside him. He wanted to feel anger, to let the rage take over, but all he felt was hollow. Liam didn't come home that night. Emily didn't call. There was nothing left to say. Jake sat in silence, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment that had led to this. The stolen glances, the hesitation in Emily's voice, the way Liam had started to pull away. It had all been leading to this moment. Morning came, and with it, an attempt at normalcy. But nothing was normal. Liam finally walked through the door, eyes avoiding Jake's. The air between them was thick with unspoken words, but Jake refused to be the first to break the silence. Liam finally muttered, "I didn't mean for it to happen." Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You didn't mean to betray me?" The words felt foreign in his mouth, as if he still couldn't believe he had to say them. Liam looked down. "It just happened." Jake shook his head.
No.
"Things like this don't just happen. You made a choice." Liam had nothing to say to that. And Jake had nothing left to give. Emily tried to reach out days later. A message. A call. Another message. Jake never responded. There was no point. She had made her choice too. Weeks passed. The hurt dulled, but never disappeared. He avoided Liam, the space between them growing wider until they felt like strangers living under the same roof. Some betrayals could never be undone. One day, Liam finally spoke again. "I'm sorry." Jake looked at him, the person who was once his closest friend, now just a painful reminder of what he had lost. "Me too," Jake said. But he wasn't sure if he meant it. Some wounds don't heal. Some betrayals change you forever. And some people, no matter how much you once loved them, are better left behind.